Dr. RJB, or as my patients know me, Dr. Bruno. And I wanted to talk a little bit about a diet that is one of the popular diets. It's called the Paleo Diet. Um, Paleo was supposed to be based on the idea of what our people ate before we had farming. Um, so it's the concept that this is the more natural diet for humans to eat. Um, uh, in Paleolithic times, because there was no farming, there were some foods that just weren't available. Um, uh, if let's just say you were living in North America, you didn't have pineapples, you didn't have oranges, because they didn't exist on this area. So you ate what you found in the area, basically. Um, uh, you didn't have material like corn because it wasn't invented yet. Um, Corn came from a grass plant. If I remember, the name is teosinte, and this was a grass plant that had like maybe two or three kernels of a corn-like material. People played around with the genetics and formed the corn cob. Um, over the years. And now, of course, corn is a major grain for both humans and also livestock. There was no soybeans. Again, uh, you know, uh, 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 beans, once again, are a farming product. And to eat beans, you got to soak them, you got to boil them. In Paleolithic times, you didn't have that ability. So you would break your teeth on the beans if you tried to eat the beans. So some of these things didn't exist, and our cooking abilities were not that good in the old days. There were no pots and pans in Paleolithic time. You cooked over a fire on a stick or some other setup like that. Sometimes you took the animal meat and you threw it in the fire to cook it. Many times you ate it raw, um, and you might take things and dry them out, and then eat the jerky type of foods. Um, uh, so, some of the things that we're talking about are of necessity. Uh, Now, when people talk about those Paleolithic times and how wonderful they were, don't forget the Paleolithic people didn't live too long. Um, in the old days, people were old at 45. The natural lifespan was only 45 years. So when they talk about Jesus being 30 years old, he was an old man. Um, and that's why people would maybe listen to him because he was older than most of them. Um, when you're going to be dead at 45, 30 is like pretty much two-thirds of the way there. You're pretty old there. Um, and also the Paleolithic life was a rough life. Um, you basically went out and you killed what you would want to eat. Um, uh, you found whatever you could to supplement that. So you might eat some sort of fruit or vegetable that you could find. It wasn't the easiest of life. Um, if the the animals that you would hunt moved, so did you. Um, so being a hunter gatherer, you had to move along with the animals. So if they decided they were going to move south for the winter, guess what you were going to do? Move south for the winter. So it's a different type of life. The reason that we have communities, we have cities, we have, civilization is because of farming. So, don't knock the farming. And the food that we're eating is really good quality. We have the ability to eat foods that are not in our area. So, like I said, in our area, you want an apple, here you don't have to worry. Apples grow in this area. You want strawberries, they grow along the ground. No problem. But if want, let's just say, a pineapple, it's not going to be here. But because of farming, because of produce, we can have pineapples in this area. Um, uh, this area I'm talking about is Chicago area, by the way. So you can have things that don't grow around here. Of course, I mentioned the apple. Apple didn't exist here either. By the way, it had to be spread across the country, but you got natural apple trees called crab apples that are in this area. Even though the fruit is pretty bitter, it is edible. We also have tomatoes and peppers because in North America, these things grow wild also. Again, they might not look as pretty or not as big, but they do exist around here. So you have the option of doing some of those things too. Uh, but again, I think some of these diets, like the Paleolithic diet, are almost like a religious belief. That somehow new stuff is bad, old stuff is good. So, in any event, that's your choice to do whatever you need. Okay, take care.